Federal Trade Commission is targeting Apple this week, writing in a fiery letter that the tech giant may be violating consumer protection laws.
Now, this all started with a recent study from the Media Research Center that suggests that Apple News not only promotes left leaning media outlets, but shuts out conservative sites entirely. The MRC analyzed 620 stories featured by Apple News in high traffic times over the course of the last month. Now, 440 of those stories came from outlets that are rated by them as left leaning by the nonpartisan organization, All Sides. The other 180 were from outlets that were rated centrist. Right leaning outlets like the Fox News or New York Post, which originally reported on this story, were not featured at all. Now, the Post went on to allege that as of Monday this week, Apple News had gone 96 consecutive days without showcasing a story from a conservative outlet in its top stories.
That article from the Post went viral in conservative circles, even getting shared by the president on Truth Social, prompted FTC Chair Andrew Ferguson to write a letter to Apple CEO Tim Cook pointing out this apparent bias. Ferguson wrote in part, Congress has mandated that we protect consumers from material misrepresentations and omissions, including when the product or service offered to consumers is a speech-related product. Any act or practice by Apple News to suppress or promote news articles based on the perceived ideological or political viewpoint of the article or publication, if inconsistent with Apple's terms of service or the reasonable expectations of consumers, may violate the FTC Act. He ended it with, I encourage you to conduct a comprehensive review of Apple's terms of service and ensure that Apple's news curation of articles is consistent with those terms and representations made to consumers, and if it is not, to take action swiftly. Ferguson posted the full letter to X, where he received praise from fellow agency heads, even some members of Congress, one of them being FCC Chair Brendan Carr, who's led the charges against conservative bias in broadcast news. He wrote on X, FTC Chairman Ferguson is right. Apple has no right to suppress conservative viewpoints in violation of the FTC Act. And Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton chimed in, writing, good for Chair Ferguson and President Trump for pushing back on the de facto censorship of conservative news outlets. If a news aggregator is going to only show left-wing outlets, it should be labeled that way.
But some online weren't convinced that the original study wasn't biased. Columnist and president of the Center for the Study of Partisanship and Ideology, Richard Hanania, wrote on a post of his own, quote, these people consider the Wall Street Journal to be left-leaning in their fake analysis. They want to remove the ability for platforms to curate real news because they're not putting Breitbart at the same level as the New Yorker. Apple, for its part, appeared to deny bias in its curation when that study was originally published. A spokesperson for the tech giant told the Post that the news app, quote, provides access to news spanning a wide range of topics from more than 3,000 publications, including the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, Bloomberg, USA Today, Washington Examiner, New York Post, CBS News, local outlets, and more. And added, Apple News users can tailor the app to their interests by choosing to follow or block specific publications or topics. As of Thursday morning, they have not responded to Chairman Ferguson's letter.
Yeah, I'm going to disappoint conservatives on this one and say,
I'm so proud of you.
okay, I don't know that based on this study, that's really evidence for, first of all, of some kind of pervasive bias. Look, Trump is the president. People don't like everything he's doing. So if the coverage is negative, like it might also be the case that then the coverage is when Biden's in charge, it skews more the other way. It's just like news is reactive and critical of what's going on. It has to do with what the customers are interested in, right? Apple is serving its customers what they want, complaining that very few platforms choose to lose money by giving their customers something they don't want. That doesn't generally persist. So if the algorithm, what the customers want is going for these news sources. Also, to Richard's point, the Wall Street Journal is not left. So who's classifying these as what? How is The Hill classified? Our show, we have a very right of center audience, but we have a right and left. I don't know. How do these things get news versus opinion? What they just want. Also, maybe conservative audiences are not getting their news from this platform anyway. Maybe they prefer YouTube video commentary. Who knows? There's so many reasons why there could be a difference and have it not be malicious. That's A. And B is that it doesn't matter because the First Amendment. So they can do it whatever they want. They can skew it however they want. And if the FTC gets in the way, then they'll countersue them and they'll win on First Amendment grounds. They are not obligated, and I say this to the right, to the left, everyone. No one it's their platform. Free speech just means the government can't tell them what to put on the platform. which is what they're doing in this case. The FTC says you have to be neutral or you have to have more of this or that. You're going to lose that fight because the First Amendment and Section 230 say the platform can do what it wants. It's a private company. It's their speech. Too bad.
And I really like Apple
Sorry.
News. So that's probably why I was really interested in this story and looking at it from an objective lens, trying to say, okay, let me look at my Apple News. So
When I get Apple News alerts on my phone, it annoys me because it makes a sound and I haven't figured out how to turn it off.
well, I have all alerts off because I learned that from being on air. They're just never on. So when people call me, if you ever call me,
Yeah.
I'll call
I
you.
won't
back
call you
later.
while.
Anyway, so
Lindsay?
I like Apple News a lot.
Are you there?
Can we talk about it on the phone? I think that like today, so I went there today. I'm like, what do they have for today? It's not like a lot of all political stories. For example, they talked about EPA regulating greenhouse gases.
That's political.
They just mentioned, they told a story, broke down what's happening. They talked about a Gallup
much
poll.
regulating.
We talked about Gallup not doing the poll anymore. They talked about the latest on the Olympics. They talked about how much tech companies are using AI and how much they're paying for these things. So I find the wide range of news and the break from only politics to be refreshing. And I appreciate that it's curated sometimes, but also different outlets. And I also know that Wall Street Journal, Associated Press, Washington Post, these are all outlets that have been considered definitely not left of center for a long time. They've been considered nonpartisan for the most part. So the fact that they're being reclassified for this study is kind of interesting to me. And also, you know, we know that Andrew Ferguson, who runs the Federal Trade Commission, has done a lot since he's been in his position. He's tried to criticize Media Matters, and a federal judge threw that out. He tried to sue them for what they called retaliation, a federal judge. So it's just like what he's doing seems like a lot of political bias himself. And I think it's just going to land him in the same position that we're seeing Brandon Carr in.
Yeah, if you want relentless pro-Trump news coverage and opinion, that is very easy to find. You can have it at your fingertips quite instantly. So I don't see what the whining is about here.
Now, panic and confusion ensued yesterday after the airspace above the El Paso airport was completely shut down. And there appears to be conflicting reports over the reason for this closure. Don't go anywhere.